Welcome, everyone, to the regular meeting, the Wednesday, July 18. The time is almost 6:30. Please, everybody, if you've got cell phones, try to silence them. And we will stand for an invocation and pledge, please. Father in heaven, thank you very much for another day that was successful, I hope, for everybody. We invoke your presence this evening, as always, praying that you'll give us good judgment and wisdom in regards to the decisions that we have to make. Also, Father, we pray for the safety of all employees at PID. As we move forward, we hope to continue to make decisions that will give us the best water for the least expensive price that we can in paradise. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Georgiana.
Director Mark Solis.
Here.
Director Ann Rice.
Here.
President Ann Lilly.
Here.
Director Bob Kazaa.
Here.
Director Bill Keller.
Present.
Approval of consent calendar. Anybody have anything, questions you want to ask? Pretty straightforward. Otherwise, we could.
I have.
What happens to all the
We're gonna approve it,
extra
yeah.
locks? Do they take them down and put them on the fence down at the lookout point or something like that?
Exactly right. Everybody gets to one
That
lock.
was one of the questions. Is it on the consent calendar?
It is, the locks.
Yeah, I'd like to have it taken off.
But just discuss it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And something else in here. I marked it. I had time to read this thing today, so. But there's so much minutes here that I. Okay.
What do you think it was, Bill?
It's a minor thing when I get done.
Yeah.
But we have so little on the agenda, I thought.
Yeah, stretch it out.
Take
Thank
on
you.
some small items.
We got to have dead space for the people that listen in. Huh?
Yeah, the only one, it actually, they have the locks back as an item
Yes,
on page 29. That's not part of the consent calendar, is it?
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about that when we get
Okay.
to it. That's all I've got.
Okay, go ahead and ask about it. For what it's worth, in case you haven't figured out, instead of pulling it off the consent calendar, talking about it, and then voting on it separately, if you just have a question, if you anticipate the possibility that we're going to completely alter something, then we can take it off. Otherwise, it's just a waste of time. So if you just have a question, ask it, and we can proceed.
Okay, there's three questions.
Okay.
First of all, the quality of the locks opposed to what we have now, as far as,
We're increasing the quality of the lock based on that. We were using Master Lock, and they've recommended that we go to the American. What is it? American Standard.
okay, and then the next question is, why?
We've had issues with our locks being out in the elements for them once they get to a certain age that they're not turning. Where the American is a one-piece, and the Master Lock is a multi-piece, and that they feel like they'll get more life out of these locks, and that they're a stronger lock for that purpose
And
to handle the elements.
we're buying 400 locks, and how fast are we going to be installing these things? You got 400 locks. Is that going to last us a couple of years?
We're going to spread them out to different departments. Whoever has the locks in those departments are going to go and change them out. So I don't feel like it'll be a tremendous amount of labor hours associated with that. For the treatment side and the lake side, which there's quite a few locks up there. They're out there opening those locks probably weekly or at least on a monthly basis anyway. So as soon as they go open that lock, change that one, put the new lock on.
Has anybody carried graphite with them?
Is what?
Anybody carried graphite? That's how to
Graphite?
free a lock up easy, you know.
Some,
Use WD-40.
yeah, I was just going to say, I have to WD-40 my Masters, even though several of them are the real super heavy-duty, real expensive ones. Routinely, I have to lubricate them.
Yeah, where these American locks, they are a lot smoother, and because they're the one-piece lock, and they have the regular size key. So the key is a regular size key, which
And whose best management practices recommends every 10 years to replace locks, whether they're working or not?
I'm not sure who published that, but with turnover and with safety concerns, and basically we've had probably quite a bit of turnover in the last couple of years with people that have locks and access to vital and secure areas.
Did they go in with a chain breaker and break the lock? Did somebody steal something, a security?
No, he's just saying the number of keys that are out there.
Oh.
Yeah, the number of
Past
keys.
employees build, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but the basic thing about a lock is security.
Yeah.
Okay. Have we had break-ins and locked goods because of it? That's all.
Not that I can think of in the recent past. We've had locks cut in certain areas down by by our security of the creek areas for people getting through some of those areas, probably on motorcycles or ATVs. But no. But we also aren't waiting until somebody breaks in to make a change. We would like to get out in front of people breaking in.
That's it. No more questions.
Thank you, Bill. If there are no other questions, accept a motion, please.
Are we approving the consent calendar?
Yeah.
Okay, I move to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. We accept the consent calendar as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Do you want public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Would you like to say something, Ward?
Thank you. Ward Habriel here, Paradise resident, longtime friend of some of you members, and appreciate your service to our community. This is over $16 per lock. That's a very expensive lock. At Home Depot, you can buy 4 locks keyed the same for less than $40. I have to wonder, too, if there's been any research as to what lock PG&E is using. They have easily as many locks as we do all over the state, keyed the same. I got to wonder if, let's see, it said, typical for utilities. They would be the typical one to compare this to. What lock are they using and how much do they pay for them before we spend over $16 per lock? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ward. Theirs are extremely expensive locks. They are. The Forest Service and PG&E both have if they're $25 or less than $25, I'd be surprised. They're ultra heavy duty, really, really tough ones. Because I got keys for both of them. So. Good question, though. Thank you.
Thanks, Ward.
So it moved, and I apologize again, Ward. Okay, number 3, public participation. Here's where I was going to say. Anybody?
I don't think you voted. You had the motion, the second.
Yeah.
Did you
All
guys
those in
vote?
favor say aye, and there was
I'm
no
sorry, I didn't hear
opposition.
it.
We did.
Apologize.
I voted no.
I said any opposed and didn't hear you. I apologize. So it was 4-1. Now we'll try public participation again.
I'll try it again. Thank you and good evening again. And first, welcome to Paradise, Mr. Fortner.
Thank you.
May you find paradise to be all that its name implies. Just so you know, your neighbors are not throwback hippies. You've seen them. Earl and Marilyn at the end of your street are classic car collectors, dirt track racers, and Earl's an excellent auto mechanic, even though he looks like a hippie. Chuck and Sue across the street from you are very friendly, and Sue is very much involved in the community, even though Chuck has a long ponytail beard. They're not hippies. They're just really nice people. Don't let that fool you. We got some really nice folks in this town.
I would like them if they are hippies, by the way.
Okay. And I see you found one of our favorite restaurants tonight. Good for you. It's very popular. However, there's also a lot of people that are concerned with what you are worth. Your salary and benefit package is far greater than what the people were originally told. From the public's view, you're not more important to the public than the police chief or the fire chief or the school superintendent or the town manager, but you're going to get paid more. We hope you can prove to us that you're worth it and make some changes that show that this is the gem of water companies in the North State. Thank you. And Kevin, thank you so much for your interim time. You've carried it through with grace and with professionalism. We appreciate that. Next, welcome to Mr. Prevost. I have heard from several people that have read your bio. They saw it in the paper, and we're glad you're here. Some feedback about the garden. It was absolutely a huge success.
Yes, it was.
I've heard from many, many people, and I'm not just talking about people that know me, but many, many people. And the only exception was Mr. Snyder's comments, which I passed on to you. Next, your special meeting on the 26th. It did not have a public notice or agenda available in a timely manner. That bothers me. I know it's happened years ago and I haven't seen it recently, but this time it did. That's, and I'll throw that word out again, transparency, because this is what the public is sensitive to, our public entities and transparency. And again, pardon me?
Are you thinking the special meetings require 24 hours?
The 26th, yes.
24 hours.
It met the legal
It
requirements.
met the requirements.
Yeah. It's not so good for the people. When normally we have many more days than that, it seems as if you're hiding something to the last minute. You're not. You're meeting the legal requirement. I'm just telling you what the people's perception is. Why hide something if you don't have to? Okay? Next, following your closed session, your report is give direction to staff or give direction to council. Right. Again, it's not very transparent to the people. Okay? I'm not providing a printout of water conservation this month. I'm saving some paper and ink. But just so you know, PID is not the leader in conservation in the North State anymore. As for case CV 17-02546, I did attend the court on Friday the 13th. Both attorneys were present by conference call. It was very disappointing that neither attorney would state that they had made significant progress so far. The judge allowed for another extension, this time to September 21. I have communicated to the court that the people of the town of Paradise do not want any liability or responsibility to contribute to the employees' award. Lastly, as to directors' protocol and practice, which goes on all over this town with board members, directors, council members, et al., there is a responsibility to the public that elects them as their representative. The public is aware of your action items simply based on your agenda. But when a board member has a comment outside of their responsibility representing the public, the customary practice is to excuse themselves, go up to the public podium, and make their comment. For a board member while seated at the board that makes a personal attack against another board member is not only against all practices and protocol, it's really insulting to the public. Bad behavior of previous board members resulted in the public's successful recall of contentious board members. We are now expecting better behavior from y'all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ward.
Thank you, Ward. Anybody else from the public wish to speak? Please, Fred.
Good evening, Board. It's Fred Hofer. I'm not here to criticize you. Actually, I came to praise you a little bit. I've been coming to your meetings for a little over 6 months now, and I'll have to tell you, I feel very secure as a resident of Paradise that you guys have my water future in hand. You talk about our investments, you talk about the repairs, the projects, the leaks. I think you're very responsible. I think you're covering all the bases. I can tell in your hearts that you really care about our water future. You even get into the legal water rights. We have legal representation. I'm very proud of you guys as board members, and I hope our two new guys will continue like the rest of you have, because they've really secured our water future. I feel good about living in Paradise. I sure as heck wouldn't want to live in a lot of these other towns that are relying on a well. But anyway, what kind of gets me to the... we send this out every month, and we're still talking about water savings. We're talking about the garden. And I'll admit, on the demonstration garden, which turned out beautiful, I did probably the least work of anybody. I only came there 4 times. But you folks, and you all know who you are, Ward, one of them, did a tremendous amount of work behind the scenes. I don't know how many hours it took to get this organized, the signs, the bench, the the archway and the girl from the nursery. You guys did a fantastic job. I wish I would help you more, but if next spring you need someone to plant some tomatoes and zucchini squash, maybe we can take it in that direction, because I really still think it should be a garden. So, but here's the thing. I'm finding, and I'm around town a lot, I don't think people are putting gardens in. You don't see people putting many flowers in. My zinnia garden is the most hit up zinnia garden by all the butterflies and hummingbirds. I think they're desperate, because I don't think people are doing much gardening. And this is good to promote gardening, and I hope we do more promoting. I think we should promote moderate water use. I know you're very concerned that maybe we're not doing our best job to conserve water, but we have plenty of water, and I think we should be an exception. And that has to do with something with these two bills that are coming up I'd like to talk about. But anyway, where my brother lives over on Montana and Ridgecrest, he's counted in that short little street 13 homes where people are no longer watering their front yard. People think that our water rates have gone up because of the monthly service charge. But in fact, the rate per 100 cubic feet has gone down a penny for most people. We need to tell people that. And this is a very good avenue to let people know, hey, we need to sell you some water. And we do need to sell some water. We are a business. So we can conserve ourselves all the way down to the poorhouse. People that know I come to these meetings, they ask me some of the same questions that I've talked about. And I know they're not on your agenda, but if you can mention them at some time, we're in the newsletter. What's happening to the camp of homeless people up by the lake? Because we're concerned about our water quality, and I think we should not turn a blind eye to that. And other people have asked, they've heard about the hazardous conditions of our dam. We'd like to know what's going to happen there. And of course, it's still a ways in advance, but those two assembly bills that Governor Brown signed, we'd like you people to tell us what you can as soon as you can. So, and those are kind of my concerns, and I think some of the public's concerns. I hope I'm talking for a few of them, and I enjoy coming to your meetings, and thank you very much. And welcome to our group, both of you. Thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
Thanks, Fred. I wish there were 20 more people like you that came to every meeting. Yeah. Okay, number 4, staff and billing reports. Kevin.
Yep, you have the written reports, and I will do my best. You see that there's no staff other than us here tonight, so we'll do our best to answer any questions that you come up with. If not, we'll try to get the answer back to you within a timely manner. Bill?
Maintenance work. The 354 fireflies were replaced this month. How much did that cost?
The fireflies cost approximately $75 per firefly, and the guys are out hitting it pretty hard. We have 2 people that are dedicated to hitting the firefly replacement pretty hard. What you're going to see coming up into the budget time is that we've gotten a quote from Zenner, who now is obviously, we've gone from the firefly to what they call I forget what this stealth reader is what it's called. And with the stealth reader, they're more powerful. They're actually 2 times more powerful than what we're replacing in the field. So if you remember, we have the fireflies on the ground that then read up to the repeaters, and the repeaters are like the highway that then finally end up at the gateways. With the new more powerful stealth readers, there's not the need for as many repeaters. And their gateway product is actually more powerful than the current gateways that we're using, that can actually take over 2 times the amount of reads than we're currently using. So we're actually looking at consolidating the amount of infrastructure we have out in the field. That's going to be actually not replacing items. It's actually going to be tearing down some of the old items so that we don't have as many infrastructure out there that are going to be dying.
So you're going to be reducing repeaters and gateways?
And gateways. That's a budget item.
Are we overlooking something we did when we first installed this?
No.
That's the topography we have here?
We
started out with 14 of the gateways, and I don't know what the final number was.
We have 14 gateways. We're going to go down to 8 is what we're looking at.
Okay, didn't we go beyond 14 because of...
I don't think so. I think it's either 14 or 16, but I believe it was 14 going down to 8. And we have 600 repeaters out there that we're going to go down to a much smaller amount. They're going to give us, what we're going to do is we're going to go out, we're going to we're going to put in new gateways. We're going to see how the reads come in, and then we're going to start taking things down, see how the reads come in. So it's kind of
You're going to test them by station then to see if
Yeah.
because the problem here is all our canyons and so forth.
Right.
Up and down. Yeah. Okay. And
so
you said
just-
there's 2 men full-time now?
two guys that are out there doing it full time.
What would they cost an hour, and what would be their labor?
I'd hate to throw a number out there and it'd be misconstrued. So I'd have to get back to you on that.
We've chosen as a board to do this, so even though it's nice to know, we're doing it. What is our other option? To not do it?
No, it's to know what we're spending on.
Right.
It should be a budget item. We're going through, if you look at the charts on them, wherever it's in here, and I didn't bother to turn to that page, but you'll see that they're from 250 on up. I'm glad to hear there's newer devices, but there's as much as almost 600, and I don't know how it ends up on the budget because we've never been able to figure out. For Ed's benefit, we've gone through testing and checking batteries and all sorts of things to figure out how to keep the cost down on these things, but it keeps growing, and it won't be. How many of the little ones, the Fireflies, do we have?
About 10,500 in the ground. We're over 50% replaced.
Right.
Remember, there was a 10-year life on a lot of these originally when they were placed in the ground, and they were installed in 2009, I believe. So,
Yeah,
they're failing sooner than what we expected, but they are kind of getting to the end of the life on this.
You
And
should
remember, the ones that we're putting in actually have a replacement slot, so you don't have to. The battery, when the battery dies, you just pop the slot down, put a new battery, and then pop the slot back up. So it's a much better design than what we currently had.
The warranty wasn't worth anything because the company went out of business.
Bankruptcy.
Yeah. So that's why I think I've asked all along that we either have them in the budget and also have the costs on them so that we know what we're up against on the budget. So as we go through the year, we understand that we have this cost coming right at us. If we got another, like you're saying, 5,000 to replace?
A little less than 5, probably.
Yeah.
Do we have a projected life on the Zenners?
They have, a full 10-year
10
warranty
only, yeah.
with a sliding 20,
Right.
limited
Right.
20.
I think I do remember that. Yeah.
And that's typical from my experience in other parts of the country as far as life expectancy and warranty. That's not out of the norm.
Okay. The same company did a very good job selling stuff. You know.
Any other questions?
No, I think I covered on that the ones I wanted to cover.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. Ian? Did you?
I noticed, and this is page 51, the treatment section, the California toxicity rule, the priority pollutants. I see a lot of, this is kind of jumping ahead, but I saw over $7,000 of lab fees in this monthly checks, and I was wondering what the cost of that CTR analysis was.
That, I don't know. But I can tell you that the lab fees have jumped based on the NPDES permit requirements that we're having to do.
Yeah.
So we're having to do quite a few different new lab tests.
Yeah.
And one of the lab tests that we're required to do for the DCBM to try to show that there was no DCBM was a really high-level test that we did multiple times. And I believe that one
It's a really low detection limit test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you
I know
go.
what it is. Yeah.
Also, just by chance, was talking to some of the guys, and apparently we're doing cryptosporidium testing for LT2. I know that's an expensive analysis.
Yeah, okay. I just wondered how much of it, because I would say just a ballpark, and I'd say 2,500 to 3,000 just for the CTR, but I just wondered how much it was. Okay, that was one question. I think the others,
Thanks for that.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I did have
That's all right,
something
yeah.
else. Oh, the letter, this is also in treatment section, page 57, 58. The letter from
How fire?
Tom Smith. His last paragraph, he says on page 58, I do have to say there are too many trees around the town of Paradise. And so I just wondered, I know.
highlighted that,
Yeah,
too.
you did, okay. So was this on, is this, part of this is PID-owned land, or is, I know we do things with CAL FIRE to thin and with CDF, but is this something that we can take steps, or we are taking steps to address, or?
We are looking at taking steps on this. They are looking at a lot of the trees in the watershed that are dying, that the beetle has kind of taken over on. And so we will be looking at steps to thin those out, to get those trees out of there.
Yeah, because he makes a good case about they will come back, and it wasn't the beetle, it was another fungus, and the other two, actually fungi, but the last one, he just says there's just too many trees, healthy or not. And so I just wondered.
Those darn trees.
Yeah, I just wondered if maybe you could get back to us, or
Sure.
just let us know what that meant.
Since we're talking about that one item, I had also underlined it and was going to comment about it. How much of that was surrounding Paradise versus potentially in? Because there was discussion about the water that we use that helps nourish the trees. So was that comment, did it also include maybe what's in Paradise? Because a lot of people are concerned, and we have been concerned for years about the number of trees in Paradise, too.
In the town.
Because at least a third of the trees in Paradise should come out.
That's a fire hazard.
Yeah, it's a huge fire hazard. But boy, good luck with that one.
Town council.
Yeah. Oh, no, they went the opposite direction. When I was on the council, we did the other way. We encouraged people, drop the tree fees to where they could afford to do it. As soon as I got off the council, they jacked it up and turned it around, and now it just costs so much that people will just say, forget it.
Just so you know, PG&E is being very proactive
are,
on trees
yeah.
right now.
Yeah, that's
and,
true.
But that's only because of their lines. That's not
That's
unfortunately
true.
in the rest of Paradise.
But I had a dead tree on my property. It wasn't even really that close to the line, but they took it out anyway.
Yeah.
And you just have to let them know, and
Might be
it's
another
actually a great
resource.
service that they're doing right now. So
Many people, Mark, are taking advantage of that.
yeah.
Okay. And then I guess my last question on staff report was on page 66. This is the wheeling the water for Del Oro. It was the first time I've seen this year. Apparently we wheeled about 3.5 million gallons for them. And I just wondered, how much money do we get for that? Do we get anything for that?
Yeah, we get approximately $90,000 a year. We charge them to wheel their water for them.
So it's not by per million gallon, or you're just giving me a total of, in historic figures, it's been about 90,000 a year?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it used to be a little more because we used to send quite a bit down to Lime Saddle before the interconnect. So we'd had a longer line of wheeling that we charged them more. But now we send it up to Paradise Pines. And so there's just not that long stretch of wheeling that we do. So it's more of a treatment cost. But yeah, we do charge them, and it's about 80. I think it normally comes out to about $89,000 and some change every year.
Is that a flat rate? It is.
It's a contract that we've had for multiple years, and there's stringencies inside the contract. If there is changes to the contract, there's a long-term provision for any type of changes.
Thank you. That's all I
We have changed the rate several times over the years, all going up.
We've only changed the rate on emergency water. So a lot of times they've asked for emergency water, which we've complied with. The one thing with our emergency water is that if we send them 100 acre-feet up there, it means we have to pump 100 acre-feet out of our well because we don't have a place of use ability to put the water up there. So we're kind of doing a water transfer in a way with ourselves.
Right. Thank you. That was all I had.
Got anything, Mark?
No, that was great. Thank you.
Bob? You have questions? I had approximately what percent, if you were to rate it at a percentage, of the Crestview Crestwood project is done? Are we half through or two?
I would say, what do you think, 85%?
Okay.
Wow.
85%.
Okay, good.
I think they have just a smidge left, and they're going to be, when they're done. So they're not having to go back in. So behind they have a pipe crew, and then they have a service crew, and so they're working in conjunction. So that And that pipeline has some big issues because there's a lot of backyard service. There was a backyard, the line was in the backyard, so they're bringing it to the front. Well, now they're having to bring the connections from either the backyard forward.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
And then making the connection back to the house. So there's some kind of funky issues over there that they're cleaning up.
And all the meters are in front now, right?
All the meters will be in front.
That's all I have. Anybody from the public wish to address anything here? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
No, because all of a sudden we went from
Oh.
consent calendar to,
Okay.
we jumped through about 3 hoops. at
Okay.
once.
Very good. Go ahead.
On page 56, on the location of the ADA picnic table. In the committee meeting, we didn't come up with a location. We talked about it and we selected, but this is not a very good location. It sits right in the place where people, if they come up there, they have a beautiful view of the lake. We actually moved the bathrooms out of this location just in part because of that, so that the aesthetics up there was good. There's room to put it over near the weather station, and that's where the ADA parking is particularly set up to be. So I would say, I don't know where they got it. I was just looking at the minutes that Mark made, and we talked about it in the meeting, but where there was no specific location given to us as a committee. So we didn't see this as a review of the exact location. And I would say, knowing the area and what we have there, the aesthetics or the view of the lake is particularly good. And down below it, we have probably more benches than we have any place else. But if we move it back to where the ADA parking is, and possibly next to the weather station, that would not obscure anything. There's already some trees there and a few bushes there, and it wouldn't obscure the view that we have. And that's particularly a really nice place to stand and see that part of the lake. So I wanted to bring that up and specifically speak against it, and don't think we should just prove it because it's in the report.
I remember in my notes, I didn't put it in the meeting minute notes, but Jim mentioned something about we might have to add a little concrete. So I think he was thinking in terms of using an existing pad, and maybe that's the pad.
Yeah, there's a pad there, but the pad used to have bathrooms on them, and we took the bathrooms and moved them down and put them, that's where we cut back into the hillside, and put them down there just because of that, the view and everything, and still made them ADA available, and the whole board debated it and all that. And then we're talking about arbitrarily, as far as I'm concerned, because if it come before the committee and with the exact location, I would have in the committee said, whoa, wait a minute, guys, you're just creating something we just got rid of so that we keep the aesthetics, which are valuable and for recreation purposes and just views when people come up and take a look. That's one point where you can really look all around.
View of the lake, yeah. I think he's maybe trying to conserve concrete. I think that's...
Yeah, well,
just so you know.
I don't think that's a good way to conserve concrete.
Okay.
But at any rate...
Well, how can we resolve this? What do you suggest? Who's actually going to be doing this, and can that be postponed until a decision?
I'd ask the committee to send it back. I'd ask the board to just send it back to the committee.
Okay, good.
And then Greg, Jim, Ed, the people, and the committee can hash it out and come, maybe a better location than I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
But the particular site, I think, is a real poor one for the long-term benefit of our lake for people to come, take pictures and all that. So.
And you're talking about the actual picnic table, Bill?
Yeah, the picnic table should be someplace else.
So we'll just have
Well, I
it go
think he
back
was-
to
The location.
Yeah, I think he was trying to put it next to the...
The barbecue?
Yeah, well, next to the, like halfway between the restroom and the parking lot, and next to the garbage can and all that.
trash
Trying to make
can.
it convenient. From the picture, that's what I can see.
This one is convenient. So it'd be all by itself, it'd be one table. And being all by itself, it's not going to be just used by ADA people. So,
Well, please,
Yeah, take it back.
whoever has to be worked with to get this resolved, yeah?
It'll be back to the committee.
Okay.
On the agenda.
Thank you, Bill. That's good.
Okay, Bill, thank you.
What else? Anything else, Randy?
And did you have anything else, Bill, before I move on?
You guys jumped ahead so far.
I'm sorry.
I did have a comment on one of my favorite deals. It's on page 38. The pipe we have in a district, we have the one I
Yep.
always harp on is a steel 4 inches to 12 inches. Some of it is World War II surplus, and that's the most, it's 56 miles, it's 33%.
Yep.
And that's where I think where most of our leaks are in the district. And I keep saying we have some, this is where we should be spending capital, and I lost the page where you can see we haven't laid much new pipe at all in the district the last 3 years. And yet we're spending, in my opinion, we're talking about spending millions of dollars on something that we can cheapen down and still have some money to replace this pipe. And this is the pipe that is the one that's going to cost us a lot of money when it gives up. I've personally been out in the field on one piece of property I run cattle on where the pipe failed, and I found the leak, and the guys came out, and they had the round things that went around.
Saddles that go around.
And they
it,
put
yeah.
about 3 of them in there, stopped the leak, and went home. And I'm going, oh. And nobody's come back to put any lines in there replacing it. And I just wonder how many of those do we have on this old steel line with the Band-Aids on it.
Probably scores of them.
Yeah, so, and I keep harping about it and probably won't just keep harping. So I think some emphasis on long-term design here, maintenance, should be aimed at that steel pipe.
Well, then let's,
We're doing our budget pretty soon.
should we be agendizing that soon, and so that we can start making sure that we're pursuing, and,
That'd be fine with me. I haven't been able to get it on the agenda.
okay, well,
I have a question on that. So we have a lot of summer left, it looks like. And if they're almost done, 85% done with Crestview, is there another pipeline project kind of waiting for them?
Not at this point. I don't think they're looking at going. The next pipeline project, we're going to be piggybacking with the town on that Almond Street.
Right, that's right.
We're proposing that the majority of the run on Almond Street would be contractor, but we're going to be doing the outer portions of it. So Black Olive and Birch, we're going to be doing. So that's going to be our next one going forward. I don't believe that they have any plans on opening that up anytime before winter. I would have to get kind of a game plan going forward on what they see their time frame is on actually buttoning up the Crestwood, because there still is asphalt repair and that type of stuff that they got to go back. I mean, I think they put in some temporary patch, and then they got to go back and redo the full, do the permanent patch. So I think there's still quite a bit of work to be done over there before we're actually out.
Maybe this is something we could talk about when we do the budget for,
Yeah.
about replacing some of the iron pipe.
or even sooner, start some of the staff starting to think about prioritizing what areas have the greatest leakage, what are the old
We have
pipes.
priorities on
Right.
on some of the bigger stuff, so we can definitely bring that forward to you guys and show what staff has already prioritized as where we feel like we should go. Remember, Almond Street wasn't the priority.
Correct. That was of necessity, yeah.
But it became the priority based on the project of the town. So,
Yeah. But we have had this discussion multiple times, and I kind of ran on that, saying I'm going to do my best to try to see if we start prioritizing this and just have virtually a replacement constantly going, except for maybe extreme middle of the winter when it's pouring rain or whatever. But we just need to be going at this constantly. And I agree with Bill on that. Yeah.
Well, the big headache is the money, where you're going to find the money. So.
Yeah. Thank you. Anything else, Bill?
No, later as we go. But,
Oh, sure. Well, on these items. Okay. Anybody from the public wish to speak to any of this? All right, then. Action would be appreciated.
I move we accept the staff and billing reports.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I'll slow down a little bit, Emily. Okay, number 5, District Manager's Report. Which manager do we hear from this evening?
I'm just kidding. He's got this one off. That's it, though.
Very short.
First of all, I want to say it's been a pleasure the first 3 days working with Ed. He's come in. He's made everybody feel extremely comfortable, welcoming, talking to everybody. I'm sure it's overwhelming for him coming in and hearing all of our complaints and our projects and what we want to prioritize as our number one thing. But he's listened to everybody. He's been extremely gracious with his time and generous with his time. And I just feel like he's just going to be a wonderful asset to this district. And I look forward to working with him throughout the time to better the district. So I really appreciate him and all the efforts that he's already put in and the connections he's made with everybody for the first 3 days he's been here. So he's going to
Well,
be.
I'm going to have to interrupt you there.
Oh.
Because it's Kevin that's gracious. I'm really overwhelmed by how gracious he's been, and all the staff, everybody that I've met, which is most everybody so far, and a lot of professional, hardworking people that care deeply about what they're doing. I'm extremely happy to be here, but this guy is amazingly gracious, and we're going to work well together, so I want everyone to know that.
Thank you.
Okay, now that we got that out of the way. District manager report. There hasn't been a ton of stuff that's kind of gone on this last month. I was on vacation, and then just kind of been kind of a little bit stagnant in where we've gone. Water rights, we haven't heard anything back from on that. We're still kind of in a holding pattern. We know where the North Lake boat launch is at. We've acquired the land. We are not doing the grant, but then I believe there is some idea of maybe doing some clearing, some parking, some rough grading. So, and I believe that's going through the Lake Committee itself at this time. Processed water recycle project, MPDS permit renewal. That's moving forward. We're getting some good traction on that. All of our testing that we've done has come back as a positive for us. Our consultant is getting closer on the mixing zone study and working with the regional board on getting the information to them. And so from all indications, it's looking very positive for us on the MPDS renewal and going forward with that. So I think we're in good shape on that. BRES design project, I think we're at 99.9% is what Jim, I think, said. Completion on design on that portion of the project. We are going through I believe we just got the CEQA requirement that you guys approved last time, the additional work on that CEQA, the alternative project portion of the CEQA. I believe that is complete, or at least we got a draft report on that. So it's going to go back over to the state for their approval on that. The one issue that we've all kind of been working through was the alignment issue and getting the acquisition for that alignment and the easement for that alignment. We did get a recommendation. We spoke with Emily. We basically went through our alternatives of condemnation, basically going to the town and trying to convince them that they should be giving us an easement. County, sorry.
Yeah.
We knew what you meant.
Yep.
What was there was a third option, but I can't remember the third option.
Just do it and see if anything happens.
Just put the pipe in. So we did get a recommendation from Waterworks on a consultant that deals with this type of issues, alignment issues. Me and Neil met with him 2 weeks ago, and he felt like there was some ability. He felt like he did have some ability to go and talk to them and to basically convince them or look back at their books and do the legwork for them to show that there was either ownership at one point on their side, or what he said that the county has quiet title to that property based on what they've used it for, and that based on that fact that they should be able to issue us an encroachment permit based on their ownership that he feels like he has. It was under my approval number, so I approved him going to the county and talking to them for a certain amount of hours, and he does have something scheduled with them at the end of this month to go down there and talk. When we went down there to discuss it with them, They did mention that there was a guru in the Public Works Department that knew a lot of the history behind that, but we didn't get to meet with her, and we never got a call from her, and we never got an email from her, and we're assuming that he has a meeting with her.
Sure.
So I think that this could be a very positive thing. He did have a lot of information about prior projects that had similar issues that he was able to solve. So that would be our best end result.
Okay, he
Yeah.
didn't hear me say to please turn your cell phone off.
No, it was me. My phone was ringing.
Okay.
So that's where that project is. So we're still moving forward. SRF, we're still moving forward with the construction approval on the funding. It's just getting through a lot of the CEQA document, different things like that to get us funded. One thing that will hold up the funding is this easement issue. So we will not put a project in until we get approval that it will be funded and that we have the legal documents to do it. So.
Has any effort been made into looking into the right-of-way we already own and putting the pipe there instead of going down one of the busiest roads in the county on the Skyway?
They have not re-engineered the whole project to go over the top of the Magalia. So
Yeah, as you go over the top of the hill, you need the very expensive pump system that has to be located at the water treatment plant. And right now, the existing pipeline feeds gravity and eventually hits a pumping station and pushes it up. And you could put a pumping station there, and you wouldn't have to build on a very expensive build on the right-of-way, just for traffic control and everything else going down that road.
So if I remember,
There's been no serious consideration. Nobody has came back with any report on that. And I keep bringing it up. You know, I'm like the bad penny, I guess. But this is, to me, it's very serious because one looks like it's a $2 million project, just guessing at it without any consideration by engineering. The other one's $11 million project that goes back to George's days. And I'm going, this is another, to me, in my mind, this is another boondoggle. We stopped the last one, and this one, to me, is over-engineered, put in the wrong place, and you could do it a different way. But to even find out, you're spending money on, finding out ways to go through this right-of-way, which has hung you up for 6 months at least now, and no consideration is done for the 50-foot right-of-way we already own, where the pipe is there. And as far as earthquakes and so forth, nobody, as far as I know, I have a friend in town that has all sorts of maps of all the different fault zones up here. And as far as I know, I've never heard a report on fault zones being there or not, and no report back. So I'm just going, okay, my job is to represent the people in this town, the ratepayers and everything else, and I'm going, you haven't even looked at it. You're going over a 10-year plan that was suggested 10 years ago, and it kept getting more expensive and been pushed through under George, and I'm going, come on now, let's take a look at the other one. You could spend 20 or 40 grand on it compared to where you're throwing money at this one that doesn't seem to want to work. And I've looked at the engineering thing, and I've seen the beautiful pump station that's going to move it about 80 feet in the air to get it over the hump. And the other one, you don't need that pump station. But you need a pump station at the end of it to push it up to the new tank. So maybe I'm being out of line, I don't know, but this bothers me considerable.
So I just want to remind the board was the one that made the choice based on the design and the recommendation of the engineer of the location of the pipe at the very beginning, what the size of the tanks were going to be, how that water was going to be moved, and if the board has desire to abandon that design or to look at alternative designs, then that's a board decision.
Okay, then I'll ask for an alternative design using the existing right-of-way be put on next month's agenda for the board to consider.
Okay.
Will that be done?
If you put it in writing and give it to Georgianne, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can discuss it, that's true.
I thought we discussed it at the last meeting.
We kind of did.
I thought we considered it originally when we all voted on the project.
It wasn't considered then. I have no knowledge that it ever was.
It was talked about only, but it was not, there had been no research done on the difference in price. Now, you said 11 million, but of course that's not, to go around is not 11 million, it's only a couple several, but it's the tanks that are costing the greatest portion of that money.
Right, but see, in my mind, I'm going, we don't have to have the pump station. That's PG&E bill that would be down with the station gone. I don't know if the other pump station you'd have on the end would cost as much. And then you wouldn't have to tear up the road and so forth.
Yeah.
And you own the right of way, so you could do it. It just hasn't been, as far as I can tell over the years, it hasn't been given any consideration, serious consideration.
Running the two lines parallel. Right?
Yeah, and it hasn't been able to, I haven't been able to get it on the agenda in the past. Now I'll get it on the agenda. That's all I need tonight. I'll write up something about it and give it to Georgiana for next month.
Just a reminder too, the pump station is for hydraulic purposes so that the full amount of the reservoir is used. So just
The other one's-
a reminder of that.
Yeah, that's just a portion
Can't
of it.
utilize the full capacity of our tank right now.
Correct.
So that's one of the great advantages of this design system.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions on that? Spillway investigation, that's with DSOD. We're waiting for them to respond back to us with any of their comments or critiques. Once that is, Gentera will be giving a presentation to the board on the spillway investigation phase 1 with all of their findings and with a kind of an outlook of what phase 2 is going to look like. So,
Is this going to be in our closed session when we talk about the lawsuit?
I don't think
spillway
so.
investigation?
No,
What the retirement? Is that gonna
Yeah,
be-
we'll have that in there.
Can we
Yeah.
cover that in the closed session?
Well, I would like to just, I gave a timeline. I know that's been requested by the board of a timeline of,
Right.
of the responses by the district when it came to the retirement plan debacle. I mean, it was an error that was created kind of a distrust and definitely an FTJ, and there was a lot of requests by the employees of the district to have change and for kind of a sense of security that things were done correctly. So I just wanted to kind of give a timeline to the board and to the public to show what the transparency that the district did present, the efforts that were put in by the district to abide by what the employees did request by the district and by the board, and kind of where we've gone forward with this. So I'm not going to walk through it completely. If you want me to, I can. If you have questions about it, I can answer them. But it's just basically a timeline to show that there's been quite a bit of effort made by the district to make all the employees not only whole, but also to change from FTJ over to ICMA, which was one of their big requests. So.
It is our request that you do this, and you did it. Thank you.
Yep,
I still would like to comment on closed session.
you will.
It's on the
Well,
closed session
it's on
agenda.
the agenda.
Okay, that's all I want.
Okay.
And I do have one question on the timeline, Kevin. 12/1/2016 error was discovered.
Yep.
Was that, I wasn't on the board then, but I remember attending a meeting in December where a letter signed by all the employees, was that
So
from?
12/1 was the error discovered. 12/21, the letter was presented to the board.
Okay,
So that's your timeline right there.
thank you.
Yep.
Anybody have any comments, further questions of the number 5? If not, public?
Yes, an immediate thank you for page 71. Well done.
You were able to obtain a copy of that, yeah?
It's in the packet.
Okay, got it, yeah. It is, yes. All right, if nothing else, moving on to 6, Treasurer's Memo.
Yep, and I do apologize that, things have kind of been hectic in the office. We're without a office manager currently. We did fly the position last week, so it's out in the public for anybody that wants to apply for the office manager. We flew it for 3 weeks, see how much interest we get. We've already gotten quite a bit of resumes back.
Good.
So I've been kind of wearing that hat also, and I've been struggling through trying to get things done. So that's been taking up a bulk of my time. So I do apologize that things have been kind of memos and not a lot of detail. I have a rough draft of the budget that I just sent out today, actually to all the managers, for them to take a look to make sure all their requests were included in that budget. Once we get confirmation that that's been done, we'll kind of tighten it up, and then we'll have a budget presentation to the board for your guys' input on the budget and any type of information we want to go forward. Once we get that, we will secure the budget and finalize the budget. So that's where the budget is at this point. I can tell you the actuals are coming in right at budget. So there's not a lot of variance that are out there. And the budget is looking fairly good cash flow wise. Operational standpoint, we're right on budget, and from an expense standpoint, but from a revenue standpoint, we actually exceeded budget, which is good.
Saw that,
Yeah, we noticed that. That was good.
And I mean, there's not a ton to report back from a treasurer's standpoint from this point, other than budgets going through, and we're going to work hard on getting that, and we're getting all the capital needs associated with the departments.
I saw no mention about reserve funds. Have we put any money into those reserves?
So in the budget, you will see where the reserve funds are being stored. Remember that unrestricted funds are where you start reserving your funds. It's kind of an ebb and a flow. It's like you put money in, but with a lot of what we're doing with capital, you're starting to see a lot of it go out. What we've learned, and what Ed's learned from just the couple days he's here, is there's a lot of capital needs in this district. And there's a lot of decisions that have to be made based on capital needs in this district. So we're not just flowing in the cash like it's in a Brinks truck. So we still have a lot of capital needs that are needing to be done, but we also are trying to reserve funds in those reserves. We'll have a more detailed presentation of where we're at on our reserves, but again, it's an ebb and a flow. So you have, if you look here, we have 1.85 million of unrestricted reserves. Well, it's not truly unrestricted. I mean, it's unrestricted in that you're able to play with it, but we're filling up buckets with that money. So you have an operational reserve that we're filling up, and then it pours over into the rate stabilization fund, and then it pours over into the emergency fund. And I can tell you, we barely have touched the rate stabilization fund. So, but I'll have a more detailed presentation on that. It's included in the budget presentation.
Thank you.
Then it might be nice in the future, once we get that stabilized a little bit, to have a monthly report on where that stands,
Sure.
Because it has, all of our goal is to try to start building that and touching it as little as we can, so that we have a big chunk that we can fall back on, of course.
I can put that in there next week. It's really easy, actually. So.
Okay.
Yep, it's already built.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any questions? No other comments? Public? None? Okay.
I move we accept the treasurer's report.
Second it. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Number 7, approval of checks. Any of you have any questions of the treasurer?
Got something in there. On page 84, it has 450 gallons of unleaded, and then it goes over and has a bunch of other fuel. But most of us are familiar with the cost of gas by gallon. And I just wondered why we couldn't have the list of, instead of it being 450 gallons at whatever price or average price we're paying.
I bet that's tough, though, because that's going to fluctuate even within a month every time. I used to
No, I
have tanks,
realize
and
it.
every time you fill those tanks, it
Changes weekly.
can change daily if you got it every day.
I'm a consumer,
Yeah.
too.
Oh,
I
okay.
understand.
So that might be tough. You could only come up with an average.
Well, the average would be better than
Yeah,
nothing.
okay.
It would make sense to me, because I go 450 gallons at $1,716, and I might actually have to do some work. You know, divide it by 450
calculator.
gallons to come up with cost per gallon.
381.
So that's all you do, is divide it 450 gallons into $1,716.
I hear what you're saying. And if there's a penny or two difference, we're going to go to that guy.
Average price 381. We're also limited on how much, you can see that the description gets cut off after a certain amount of characters.
Oh, right.
Look at this one right here. This one's cut off right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's more to it, so right here, you can put average price, but you're going to get cut off.
I told you when
also-
we started tonight that I was probably going to be a nitpicker, because there were so
Okay.
little things on the agenda.
Also, as probably you're well aware, Bill, if you have bought it in bulk, is there's not any significant savings. It's because of the handiness of the proximity to the machines that use it. Because,
Right, but also some of our machines may not have to pay gas tax. I don't
oh, they don't. That's the reason the diesel is, the dyed diesel, of course, is
Right, okay.
tax-free.
It should be less money on that.
It is. It's always cheaper.
We fill out fuel tax reports anyway. We keep track of the fuel that's used off-road and on-road.
Really? Even though it's the dyed fuel and you put it in backhoes, you keep track of it? Because,
The undyed. We keep track of the undyed. So if it's
oh, the undyed.
Here.
yeah. So
Right,
if it's used off-road,
Oh,
and we keep track of that
I
time.
see. Then you get
and
credit.
we get credit back on that.
good.
Yeah, they used to send me the paperwork on that, and I didn't have the time to fill it out.
It's not as significant. No.
Back when I had dump trucks, backhoes,
Not that counts.
bulldozers.
The next question I have is, always another of my favorite, on page 87, the attorney's bill for $27,275.74. I normally get an itemized statement from Kevin on how much, on what projects we spent that money.
We didn't get this one this month, did we?
I haven't seen one tonight.
This month it hasn't been
Azu?
received it yet.
We haven't got the bills haven't gone out yet for June.
Okay.
So there's no bill for this month on here.
Oh, did we get this itemized last month?
Did you?
We did.
If you
I don't think we got it last month
I
either.
thought we
I
did.
can print it. I'll print it up right for you guys.
I thought we got one.
A couple months ago, maybe.
Has it been two?
I don't think we got one.
No time goes by, doesn't it?
Same reason the bills hadn't gone out yet.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions? I've got a couple, but,
No, I'm done.
okay.
Thank you.
Bob, anything? Mark? Good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Where do we stand on the garden on page 87? How much have we spent versus how much have we received? Is there any kind of accounting for that, or?
On what's that?
The garden, 87, Mendon's Nursery, et cetera. I just mean this whole,
I was going to address that in the committee report, but.
oh, thank you, okay.
I don't have it specific.
Don't need exact, I was just
Ballpark
curious.
figure.
I mean, if we spent 5,000, we've gotten in
Yeah, I think we
1,500 or whatever.
I think we spent close to 7, and then we had donations of 1,450 and donations of equipment of 1,290.
I remember seeing that, yeah.
So it was about.
Sounds
but,
about right.
Yeah, but I don't have it specific. I have ballpark figures plugged in on some. We did end up with a $500 credit at Mendon,
Oh, nice.
and I think it was about 30% funded by donations and, materials and cash.
Some of the PID money was from monies that when we remodeled and put in the
Right.
thing for landscaping.
Yeah, that
So
was our
Correct.
budget
the PID
Right.
money actually came out of an account that the town was reimbursing us for.
for landscaping.
And Kevin can explain that.
Okay. And we've addressed that before, so. Yeah. I did have one more question, page 88, third of the way down, courier service water samples. The smaller amounts, I kind of go, okay, but $750, was that they just collected a whole bunch and then sent one bill? Because there can't possibly be $749.89 for,
I think one of the labs we used was CalTest in Napa, and so that would be courier to take the samples all the way
yeah.
down. So they're time sensitive. A lot of the analyses have to be preserved or run within so many days.
I just,
Be that.
I just thought,
PCBM test, is that
Yeah,
the one? Because that was the only lab that would do that high-level testing, I think.
Yeah, once those are preserved, they aren't that time sensitive. You could actually ship them. But there must have been something, probably the CTRs.
Probably.
Could be some component of that
Yeah.
was time sensitive. Or maybe the low level, that may make it time sensitive. It's not a regular,
Yeah.
yeah,
Those were only one lab would do it, and I knew it wasn't local.
yeah. I saw Caltest, that was one of my labs I used in Vallejo.
I was kind of taken back by
Pretty high, yeah.
Yeah.
almost $1,200
Drive it
for
down.
trucking water for samples. And I think those are the only...
Back in the day, just so you know, we used to use Greyhound.
Seriously?
Seriously. They were great. But we were just going to Sacramento.
Yeah, a lot of ours we could pack up because we use
Ice
labs
chest
in
on
Southern
the Greyhound.
California.
Yeah.
What does utility management to the town of Paradise on page 91? I don't recall seeing that one, about the middle of the page, town of Paradise, utility management, Maxwell Drive. We did that repair on Maxwell because there was a bad leak there and so on. Remember the road washed out there and so on? Is that part of that? What does that mean? Utility management.
That's a good one, I didn't
It
get
was an
that one.
agreement between us and their contractor did work for us that we
Okay.
reimbursed them for. And
Because that whole thing wasn't our problem. It's because it just a lot of rain and the road got mushy and washed out.
I don't
It wasn't a
think
leak, was it?
I don't think it was specifically for that. I think it was for a project that they did that they raised, if I remember. Did they do any type of overlay over there?
I haven't gone back.
I thought it
I
was
checked it out when it was bad, but I didn't.
I'd have to look at the specifics of exactly what that was, but it was an agreement between us, and the agreement went back pretty far before I was kind of
Okay.
doing it. That
Oh.
we were to reimburse them for their contractor expenses because they were doing work for us on our, and I believe I thought it was valve cans that they were raising valve cans for us.
Oh, I see. No more questions from me. Anybody else, any questions? Where are we? Okay. Number,
To comment?
oh, do you have any comments, by the way? Okay, yeah, yeah, you think? Approval of checks. That was never read, so I didn't read it like I normally do, so whoever's going to... Okay, I'll read it then and make the motion. Move we approval of check fund, check numbers 52006 through 52146 for the month of June 2018, $489,182.87 exclusive of voided checks numbers 52025 and 52029 and 52051, 52071 and 52083. A few more checks than usual missing there. And authorization of a similar amount allowing or adjusting for extraordinary budget or board approved items during the month of July.
I'll second that.
Any questions further? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Legal report, number 8.
Kevin covered most of what we've been working on in his report, but just to update you on those couple other items, the water fix hearings are still ongoing. Part 2, the rebuttal to Part 2 is scheduled to start, I believe it's August 2nd. So right now there's a lot of filings on order of testimony and witnesses and exhibits and all of that. Dustin continues to monitor that for you guys and the other clients that we have. Looks like maybe that's going to be wrapping up soon, but we'll see. I think it's probably naive to think that. The other piece of litigation we have going for you guys is that Public Records Act lawsuit. I don't have anything meaningful to update you with at this point. It's still ongoing. I think it's probably about time to have a closed session discussion the next time around and go through where we're at and where you want to go on that. And hopefully there will have been some progress that we can report at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Number 9, unfinished business. None. Number 10, Kevin?
Yeah, so this is a legal requirement that you establish an appropriation limit. Basically, what you're doing is you're stating what you are legally allowed to collect in property tax based on the original set of property tax back in 1979 with an escalation factor that allows you to escalate it every single year. And if we collect about $240,000 of property taxes and our appropriation limit is $1.586 million, so we're not even close to our appropriation limit, but it's a requirement by government code.
And I was looking on the website that by the numbers where they show everybody's appropriation limit, and we weren't even listed on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Paradise Recreation was listed, and there was some kind of funding authority for Paradise that was listed, and they had like, I don't know,
Interesting.
$17 million appropriation. And I was wondering, I was looking at the original bill, and I was looking at the exemptions, and it said one of the exemptions is that you don't have to do this report, was special districts in existence on January 1st, 1987 that did not levy a property tax rate in excess of 12.5% in fiscal year 77-78. I was wondering if...
I don't even know if we did in 77, 78.
I don't know, I just wondered if we're... 'cause I
Before
couldn't
your
find it
time.
on there, and I said, well, I wonder if we're not required to do it. But then I thought, there must be an advantage to us to do this, because then if there's some kind of... I remember in the 80s or whatever, there was some kind of excess appropriation by the state of California, and they had to send everybody a check. That was pretty good.
Yeah. It is asked for on the state controller's report now of what your appropriation limit is.
Okay.
And it hadn't been asked for in the past. So it was, when Dustin found out about the requirement, we hadn't been doing it for many, many, many years. So I had to go back and recalculate it about 4 years or 5 years ago. And so I just have been continuing to do it just based on legal's advice to continue to establish it, even though it has really no effect on us in any way.
Okay.
It could have an effect if you ever to get into something where it says, you have to abide by, you make sure that you're in good standings at all areas before you're able to get grant funds or something like that. Then this could negatively affect us if we never establish the appropriation limit. So.
Okay. But I saw the little calculation of the change population times the change in cost of living, and then that's, and so I saw it went up just like a few bucks, 60 bucks since last year.
Right.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I still can't understand how they ever got to $1.5 million for Paradise. That was pretty, I just see those original figures and then.
The original figures of our property were fairly high. I was surprised in 77 how much it was almost about the same as it is now. Yeah. So we must have been charging the 12.5%.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
maybe,
thinking.
maybe we were. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
The one thing that came in effect that would change our income, what do we call the redevelopment thing?
RDA.
RDA, Redevelopment Agency. Yeah.
That, when the RDA went in effect, they took property taxes from all the special districts as part of that. Any new improvements and stuff, it all went to the RDA. Now the RDA is gone, but this town still has the debt to figure out.
Yep.
But they were actually, the cemetery district, which is quite small, 1 month will take almost their whole year there, but they lost, for a small district like that, that hurt. When that happened, the RDA picked up the extra money. So maybe that's part of the formula that doesn't explain that. I don't know.
Yeah, we've done this
Yeah, we did last year. Yeah,
Last year
we did.
too. Okay, accept a motion, please. Oops. Anybody from the public wish to speak to this? Thank you.
I'll make a motion. I move to adopt resolution number 2018-10, establishing the appropriation limit of the district at $1,586,020 for fiscal year 2018-19 pursuant to Article, is that
13B?
X111B of the California Constitution.
Second. Roll call, Georgiana?
Aye.
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 I got to say no.
No.
Are you serious? Yeah.
I'll be serious.
Okay, all
And
right.
brought up a concern about it. I'd
Aye.
rather it to be tabled to figure out what was going on.
Okay. Passes 4-1. Okay, B, Kevin.
So this is our transmittal of delinquent water charges. Based on how we are established as an irrigation district, we have zero bad debt because we can lien properties for unpaid water charges. It includes usage charge, service charge, shut-off charges, notice charges. And so we have a deadline that we send this over to them in July, but it doesn't get liened on their property till August. So people do have the opportunity still to come in and pay it, and it won't be attached to their property. But if we don't send it over now, we can't then attach it when it's necessary. So just because the list is long now doesn't mean that list is going to stay that length or that amount. But once that property is liened, that account becomes clear. So if it's liened on their property, they come in, they have a zero balance, they can actually go get their water turned on.
Do they get a notice in the mail from the county or from us that?
I'm not sure how the county notices them that it's going on their property.
They may not see it until,
They go to sell.
right.
And the county reimburses it 100% no matter if they collect property tax or not, because then they'll just sell the property and recover their costs. So
Okay, thanks.
yeah.
Don't have any further questions? Anybody?
Did you have a question?
No. Okay.
All right, I move to
Mark on.
adopt
Yep, he was-
resolution number 2018-11, transmitting delinquent water charges to the county of Butte to place on the secure tax roll.
I'll second it.
Okay. Sure, not against this one, Bill?
No, not against
Okay.
this.
Roll call vote, please, Georgiana.
Yes?
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Number 11, committee reports. Let me see, Bill and Ann,
let's start with it.
or Ann and Bill, whoever.
Oh, no, you're talking about the ad hoc committee.
Yep.
Has been folded into the community district. It no longer exists. So the last meeting and the dedication of the garden was,
The end of
ad
it.
hoc committee's gone. It's between Ann and Mark now, and we have public members on it, carryovers, or good workers and everything. So, and somewhere in the last not this minutes, but the one before, you have some of the expenses you were asking about earlier, Dan, in here. And then the one before this one report had a much more detailed explain costs and where the money came from and what volunteer hours were put in and everything else. And that's largely the result of Ann's work and making it up and everything. She did an excellent job with that. But the committee doesn't exist anymore, and I don't have one committee meeting I don't have to go to.
One less to go to.
Yes.
Yeah, great job for that ad hoc committee, by the way. That was
Yeah.
good work.
It was
You
a
guys
team
did
effort.
super job,
We all
absolutely.
contributed. And these figures and stuff, these reports, Georgiana, those came from Georgiana, as we reported her. So, yeah, I was happy with the, as well, with the opening and with the turnout. And I will try to get just a more detailed, just a more detailed funding report on how it went. And I also wanted to say that on the website, you can take a virtual garden tour.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
and Nikki
neat.
did that, and I'm just awesome job, awesome. So if you go on our website, you can see the garden there, and it has calculations for water usage by square foot and by what type of plantings are in each one, plus an example of all the hardscapes. So
Who did all the work on that?
Nikki for the
Mickey
website.
Rich did, huh? Wow.
Yeah, a lot of help by the staff and everything.
Compliments to her on that.
Definitely wasn't a one-man show. It was a community, just committee really worked well together.
Do you have any comments on This part? Okay. Next, Mark and Ann in regards to community relations.
Sure. And you want to?
I think most of the meeting was for the kickoff, for the opening of the garden. All the different things were discussed, and signage, brochures, et cetera, how we were going to do it. We gave out little seed packets, commemorative seed packets that had PID demonstration garden grand opening on them, and refreshments. And
We talked about a maintenance program.
yeah, so we're going to kick around some more ideas. We didn't have all our members. In fact, I don't think we had any members of the public there. And Kevin was wearing 3 hats that day, so he wasn't able to sit in on it. So I think we're going to probably discuss it again at the next meeting.
Yeah.
It's summer. A lot of people are gone doing things.
We'll bring something back to the board.
And the publicity of in the paper was good too. You did a good job
Yeah, we
on
made the
that.
front page of the Post.
Front page.
That's very true.
It was very well done.
And the family was just wonderful.
Well, I read it online.
Oh, good, good. The Flesher family were just wonderful, too.
They were neat. They are neat people.
Yeah.
Super. Any comments? Okay. Okay, director's comments.
Are we going to do the Lake Committee?
Oh, I didn't see it on here.
Oh, it's not on there,
No.
so we can't talk about it.
If you,
What committee?
This was on our last
Yeah.
regular meeting was the 12th. This was on the 13th.
This is the minutes of our last meeting, but I don't know how it didn't get on the agenda, but anyway, Mark takes the minutes and he's presented it all typed up.
if you've got something to talk about, it's not like it's amazing. We're not making any decisions.
Yeah, we had
it's just
we had a great
information.
meeting, Bill.
Yeah.
We talked about the boat launch. Obviously, since we were rescinding the
Yeah.
grant fund money for the boat launch, we just talked about some things we could do out there. And Bill helped me out here. Kieran O'Leary, he volunteered to work up the timberland conversion permit for us, and we could possibly do some work. We talked about possibly having some work, crews that do some work out there, clearing the land. If we got the permit, we could clear the land and get it ready for some kind of a parking lot. And we did even look at parking lot dimensions and a possible plan for a parking lot. And we kind of came to a consensus. We liked that there was a north-south alignment. We liked that the best. And from Jim Passanese, he put that together. Then we talked about Kids Fishing Day, the financials on the Kids Fishing Day, and of course that worked out really great. I mean, I think there was almost $8,000 in donations that went to Kids Fishing Day. The total was $11,800. The cost, so the district picked up the $3,858. But fantastic that we had all those donations to make that happen. Project updates. Greg's working on the bulletin board up there at the lake. Also, of course, the handicap picnic table. Bill talked about that a little bit. We're looking to buy one, and Jim's going to get some pricing on the table itself. So, Shady Fuel project was still going on. They're working on 4 acres that we own up near Lucretia Drive, up in the Pines. This was just something Greg brought up, which I thought was a good idea. Future having a ADA handicap fishing spot. He came up with that idea. Kind of a neat idea. Find a spot for someone to put their pole in the lake. And then Director Culler brought up the conceptual idea of having a bottled water plant at the district well site. We had a lot of discussion on that, and we basically came up the conclusion that we thought there were just too many obstacles to overcome to do a project like that.
I even lose votes in the committees.
You do, huh?
Great idea, Bill. And then we set the next meeting for August 8th.
We skipped this meeting, and we're going to try to have the fellow from NRCS Butte County RCD to come to the August meeting and present, get the trails back in for the, between Magalia Reservoir and Paradise Lake, and we're hoping that by having a trail through there, one of the advantages will be, was earlier mentioned about homeless up there being a problem. So we're hoping that the trail idea will have some substance to it, because PG&E is closing down the walkways on the, this would give our community another place to be able to hike and hike safely, and at the same time maybe help us with a community problem on homeless and other things. And when that
Bill,
damage...
excuse me, what does NRCS have to do with that area?
NRCS is, has worked on trails. One of the county supervisors happens to service this area. His prime goal has been all along to improve trails in the county, and with working with Forest Service and others. Now, part of this trail will go through Forest Service land. They would have to be involved. And the NRCS will have hopefully some funds possibly to be into it.
They do have funds.
Yeah. So, and then the district is, the Butte County RCDs is, I'm not going to discover all their problems, but basically they have two young men that are working there now, and they have excellent experience on laying out these trails and designing them. So that there's that, and we've talked, and Kevin has some figures on costs approximately on the trail without any outside contributions and so forth. I'm hoping it will turn into something like what we just did over here, with people in the community being advised that want to have a hiking trail, want to contribute and help with it, so that it would take months for it to actually get done. Might even it was hopefully not as long as it took with us on our garden, but where we could get some support, possibly get some funds for it, get Forest Service on board, which means we have to meet their standards on a trail. And Forest Service has the toughest standards usually on something like that. But these young men have the experience, and they've worked directly with the Forest Service and the state of California on trails all over the county. So. But that's not even in the agenda. What am I talking about?
Yeah, I know, that's it. She's over there frowning, but
You didn't correct me this time.
Can I make some comment on the...
please, yes.
I noticed with great interest at your picnic table for ADA, and Paradise is a great place to retire. What it brings us, though, is a lot of people in walkers and wheelchairs, including one of my family members. And I think the idea of a picnic table, and even combining that with a fishing spot, where you could take your family down there and your handicapped loved one to go fishing, and then you could have a picnic in one spot. I don't know the lake as well as you guys do. I kayak there, so I go in and out, and that's all I know. But if there is a spot, I think that'd be a community winner, because there's a lot of retired fishermen up here that just can't go fishing anymore because of that. So maybe it's something you can work into your planning or ideas.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at it definitely in the committee.
The last time I was up there and talking to people at the lake, a man I ran into up there and introduced myself as a director and all this, and he had that problem. He has a family member for walking, and he could see. I pointed out the ADA trail that we have down to the bathrooms, and he wasn't aware of that either. But he saw one spot where he might be able to get the wheelchair close enough to be able to throw a line in. But you got to have something special there for they don't end up in the lake with the.
Yeah.
And then if we do get these in place, we need to get the word out that we have that.
Yeah.
So,
Get some publicity on
yeah.
it.
So, well, the Lake Committee, because of the changes that Ann brought to us, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're not going to be just meeting 3 times a year, so I'll be busy even though the ad hoc garden committee is gone.
Yeah, we can make another ad hoc trail committee or something.
So,
Done with that?
Done?
Okay, 12, director's comments. Mark, got anything?
Just thank everybody for coming. Dan, Ward, thank you for being here. Fred, back, and Bob as well. Thank you.
No comments.
Your review? Thank you, Kevin, for your positive statements this evening. We too, the board, is extremely anxious for this to work out well for everybody in the community, but especially the PID employees. So, okay, number 13, closed session. We'll have conference with labor negotiators, conference with legal counsel, and existing litigation. We'll go to closed session in the time. Well, you want it? Yeah, we'll meet in there in 5 minutes. Yeah.
Sure. Got a 5 minute
So
break?
it's 7:59, Georgiana.
It is going to be one of our short.
I know. Like 8 o'clock.
Yeah, it's a miracle.